Welcome back to Bobby King Iraqi Dinar News. I'm your host, Bobby King. If you're passionate about Iraq's economic future, currency reform, and the real stories behind the headlines, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and support me as we continue uncovering the truth behind Iraq's monetary transformation. Let's get into it. In a stunning yet quietly momentous shift, Iraq has been thrust onto the high wire act of global finance, balancing sovereignty with exposure, hope with risk, and past with future. The country's growing entanglement with international financial systems like SWIFT and the oversight of the U.S. Federal Reserve has drawn mixed reactions, but one thing is clear. Iraq is no longer hidden behind the tattered curtain of post-war sanctions and economic isolation. To some, the headline reads like a warning. SWIFT and the U.S. Federal Reserve put Iraq at the mercy of the global economy. But let's pause. Yes, it's a provocative phrase, almost jarring. Yet in this jolt lies the real story. Iraq's increasing vulnerability to global economic shocks isn't a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it's a symptom of emergence. For the first time in decades, Iraq is stepping into the global financial spotlight, exposed, yes, but also ready to engage, reform, and potentially thrive. Breaking the chains of isolation for years, Iraq operated in a quasi-financial vacuum, shielded, or imprisoned, by sanctions, war, and corruption. The dinar, the country's official currency, IQD, was shackled by artificial pegs and insulated from the free flow of global capital. Now, as Iraq connects more directly to systems like SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, and aligns parts of its monetary structure with the U.S. Federal Reserve, it is, by necessity, becoming more sensitive to global economic winds. This sensitivity, often labeled as vulnerability, is actually a rite of passage for any economy aspiring to play on the international stage. To open your doors to capital, trade, and opportunity, you must also open them to risk. The shift is undeniable. Iraq is no longer hiding. And with visibility comes possibility. The tension between control and currency freedom. One of the immediate consequences of this financial integration is the increasing pressure on Iraq's monetary policy. With SWIFT oversight and greater transparency demanded by international partners, the Iraqi central bank can no longer manipulate or suppress market signals the way it might have in the past. That control is ebbing, and in its place, a new discipline is forming. This is not just an accounting issue. It's deeply symbolic. The movement toward a more open, possibly floating exchange rate, a move many believe is inevitable, would represent a tectonic shift for the IQD. A float would mean the value of the dinar is no longer set by decree but determined by global demand, by Iraq's economic fundamentals, and by investor confidence. Such a change doesn't happen in a vacuum. A float must be supported by a basket of currencies, a new peg tied perhaps to a collection of stable international currencies rather than a single anchor like the US dollar. This basket approach can reduce volatility while allowing the IQD to breathe, to find its own place in the global hierarchy. A calculated vulnerability. Critics may argue that greater integration into the global economy exposes Iraq to external shocks it is not yet prepared to handle. Rising interest rates in the U.S., oil price fluctuations, and geopolitical tensions can all reverberate more fiercely within an interconnected Iraq. These fears are valid, but they are also a part of the reality faced by every modern nation. What separates success from failure in this arena is preparation, adaptability, and institutional strength. Iraq is beginning to build the frameworks needed to weather such storms. Laws are being updated, banking regulations are being tightened, and there is a slow but visible push to root out corruption. The transformation won't be overnight, but the trajectory is clear. The future is risky, and that's the point. There is something exhilarating, almost revolutionary, about the notion that Iraq, long a prisoner of its past, is now preparing to float its currency on the tides of global finance. Such a float would not only symbolize economic maturity but also restore a sense of national dignity. No longer will Iraq have to conduct financial affairs in the shadows or rely solely on oil exports propped up by fixed exchange rates. Instead, Iraq could become an emerging market powerhouse, a country rich in resources, young in population, and, now, deeply connected to the global financial bloodstream. Yes, the risks are real. But so are the rewards. Hope and exposure. The phrase, "at the mercy of the global economy," implies a kind of helplessness. But let's reframe it. Iraq is not a victim, it's a participant. And participants, unlike spectators, have a voice. They shape outcomes. They adapt. They grow. This is Iraq's moment to claim that space. To embrace the vulnerability that comes with participation. To trust in the process of reform and the long arc of economic resilience. The post-war shadows are fading. What lies ahead is uncertain, but it is also unwritten. That's where hope lies. In the end, I want to ask my friends who are watching to stay positive and be patient, because patience is the key to success. Please subscribe to my channel and support me. Wishing you all a wonderful day.